Hey listeners, your host Denny Corby here. If you're new to the channel, I just want to let you know that this particular episode is from the vault with our OG host Gabe, and this is just good old-fashioned private club radio. Enjoy.
Welcome to Private Club Radio, your weekly source for industry education, news, and discussion. Broadcasting from Tampa, Florida, ladies and gentlemen, here is your host, Gabriel Aloisi.
Once again, Private Club Radio is been a crazy 2020. As you know, I had to take the show monthly for a while just because of time constraints. Had my kids e-learning, and now they're hopefully going back to school here in a week or two. So we're going to get back to our weekly format. And we wanted to start it off with a bang. So I've got an awesome guest coming on, Henry Wallmeyer from the National Club Association. He's going to be talking about the 2021 outlook for private clubs. We're going to talk about what's happening in DC. There's a ton of craziness happening in DC and also in Georgia today. So he's going to talk to us a little bit about what's happening in Georgia and what they think at the end is going to happen today. So it's going to be really, really fun. And what makes this format different for Private Club Radio is you're going to have the chance to ask myself, Henry, whoever our guest is each week, live questions in real time. So I think it's going to be a really, really fun platform for us. The podcast will always be there. So if you catch us on the live stream, which we hope you do, you'll always have a chance to either watch the video replays on our YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/Private Club Radio, or you can always listen to the podcast if you're used to listening to the podcast on your way to work or however you consume it. One way or the other, we are so happy that you're here. I want to just make a couple of different announcements before we bring Henry on. First of all, I want to talk about some of our awesome sponsors here in 2021, people that make this show possible. And first, I want to talk about Restream. Restream is the platform I'm using right now for this broadcast to go out, syndicated to all the different networks. It's a software I've been using for the last 3 months, even before they came on as a partner, and I absolutely love it. If you are interested in doing Restream for your club, which I think is an incredible way to stay connected to your members. Some of your members might use Facebook. Some of your members might use YouTube. Some of your members might use LinkedIn or Twitter or these other platforms that exist. This is a way to really connect them all and to be able to participate. You could have tips from your pros. You could have your chef. You could have any sort of club education happening via Restream. It's an incredibly powerful platform. privateclubradio.com/Restream will get you 50% off. So highly recommend you check them out. But thank you to Restream, who's making Private Club Radio possible in 2021, alongside of our awesome partners that have been with us for many years. Concert Golf Partner, one of the leaders in providing capital solutions for private clubs, 22 clubs strong nationwide right now. Peter Nanula and his team, awesome people who have supported this show for 4 years now. So big thanks to Peter and Concert Golf Partners for being a part of Private Club Radio again here in 2021. The National Club Association, we're about to hear from Henry. They've been a partner of this show as well for 4 years. And they do incredible work going to battle in DC to talk about legislative issues for the private club industry on our behalf. So many, many thanks to what Henry is doing. And our newest sponsor, Capstone Hospitality, who provides sales and marketing solutions for private club. They can literally come in and run a sales and marketing program for you. They bring in their team. They do a wonderful job. So Brian Friedrichs, you'll hear from him later this month on the show as well. Capstone Hospitality, big thanks to them. So it's really exciting times here at Private Club Radio. All sorts of new things happening, new things changing. Hopefully you've got a new outlook for 2021 as well, wherever you're at. I know there's some tough things happening over to our friends in the UK. I know a lot of folks from the UK listen to this show, and I know that some tough times still lay ahead, really, there and in other places as well. But I think we all are starting to see that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm really excited and bullish on 2021's prospects. And I think Henry, our guest, will be as well. Once again, another reminder: if you have a question for Henry anytime during this live stream, let us know. And I will do my best to get that question into the mix. All right. So before we bring Henry on, just one last announcement, talk about our upcoming guests. We've got Tony Shibayama, who has put together this beautiful new book called The Big Game Playbook. I'm reading this book as we speak. We'll have her on next week. That's going to be the 12th By the way, all new live streams moving forward will be 10 a.m. Tuesday, which time you're watching this right now, 10 a.m. Eastern, that's 7 a.m. Pacific. Our friends in the UK, that's 3 p.m. in the UK. So 10 a.m. we'll be hearing from Tony Shibiyama this week, or next week rather, on the 12th. We've got Leighton Walker from the UK going to give us an update on what's happening in the UK with private club industry. That's happening on the 19th. And then we've got fan favorite Michael Crandall, CNG. His book is right here behind me, The ABCs of Plutonium Private Club Leadership. He will be on Private Club Radio on Tuesday, the 26th of this month. So really exciting, action-packed guests coming. I believe Robert Cerecci will join us in February. Just an awesome lineup of all-stars coming back on Private Club Radio. But without further ado, we're going to bring on our featured guest of the day, Mr. Henry Wallmeyer from the National Club Association. Henry, welcome to Private Club Radio Live, man.
Oh, thank you, Gabe. It's great to be here. I'm excited to be your first guest. And the nice thing is, after me, you're going to go up in terms of all the guests that you're having. It's all those you just listed. So thanks for getting me out of the way, and looking forward to being on this, but then also looking forward to watching the future ones and seeing how this transpires. I wish nothing but the best for you in this new endeavor and format.
Thank you. You're very humble, but we wanted to start things off 2021 with a bang. That's why we wanted you on. So we're all excited to hear what you have to say, Henry. Let's talk first about what's happening in Georgia. It's Tuesday as we talk about this live. There's a runoff election happening. What's happening there?
Exactly. It's Tuesday, January 5th. So that means it's election day, right? It's an interesting election and an interesting year of what 2020 was. And so there are two runoff elections in Georgia today for the Senate seats. Neither candidate received a majority in the November elections. And so they're now down to two candidates. The two Republicans are incumbents. And the interesting thing about these races is the balance of the Senate will hang on who wins these races. And because right now it is, there's 50 Republicans and 48 Democrats. Speaking with Joe Trauger earlier today, who's our Vice President of Government Relations, he thinks that both incumbents, both Republicans, will win the elections in Georgia, which means it would be a Republican-controlled Senate of 52 to 48. He seems to think this because the Democratic candidates did not do that well as compared to Biden, in the November elections, and he doesn't think that they would do any better in the runoff. But with that said, there's the mail-in votes, which could be an X factor into the mix. So we'll see. But that's what we're projecting right now from NCA and from Joe Trauger, is that the Republicans will win both of the seats in Georgia, and that the Republicans will maintain majority in the Senate. The nice thing was that
prediction before all the pundits. That's danger. Like, that was a crazy election night, where it's really election week.
Exactly. And since we're taping this, and we're going to be posted later on, I want the right to be able to come back and change my answer if if the results that we see on Wednesday morning are different than what we're predicting right now.
I hear you. You had some wild stuff happening in DC, where you guys are, where the National Club Association is. Tell us what's happening there.
Yeah, even, again, it's the election that won't go away. They're certifying the Electoral College tomorrow here in DC on January 6th. But basically the entire city, streets are all shut down between the Capitol and the White House today for rallies, for pro-Trump rallies that are happening. And I would normally be in my office right in downtown DC at 15th and M, which is 4 or 5 blocks from the White House, but with no way of getting anywhere close to my office. I'm working from the home office today, but it's just one more example of just what a incredible year 2020 was, which culminated with the election at the end of the year. That this is still going on. I'm looking forward to the Georgia elections being over today. I'm looking for the certification of President-elect Biden and President-elect Harris, Vice President-elect Harris, so that we can move on and ideally get to work for the people and ideally make sure that we're representing private clubs the best that we can.
Do you guys think that will it be like election week where we don't hear the results of Georgia? Are they counting the ballots after the fact? Have they started counting these mail-in ballots? What's going on there?
They have. We anticipate that we'll know the election by Wednesday morning. Since it is just one state, they have them all there. And being a runoff election, the turnout's not going to be as high as it was during the general election, so there won't be as many to count. So we do anticipate that we'll know the results by Wednesday morning.
Awesome. We're joined by Steve Colton of Encore Golf. Steve is a sponsors of my Let's Play Through show. So Steve, thanks for joining us. If you got a question, anyone who's watching this has a question in real time, I'm happy to feed it to Henry. But again, if you're just joining us, we're talking about really the 2021 outlook for private club industry. So if you're at a golf club, a yacht club, city club, and you're interested in what's happening in 2021, we've got the right person to talk about it. So Steve, thanks for joining us. Let's talk about the new administration with Biden. Obviously, Democratic administration coming in. How do you guys feel about that, and how do you think that that's going to affect what you guys are doing in DC, Henry?
It's going to be interesting. That's for sure. It's going to be different because I think we're going to be playing a lot more defense with this administration than we were doing with the previous administration. Again, a lot is going to depend on what happens in Georgia. And I know we've talked about that a lot, but I can't overstate the importance of those two elections there. Because, if Georgia were to be won by the two Democrats, then you're looking at a Senate that is tied 50-50, but Vice President Harris would have the tie-breaking vote. So in essence, the Senate would be controlled by Democrats, House would be controlled by Democrats in the administration. And so there just is checks and balances there that, that we think would make for, the most opportune environment for clubs that we could possibly have. So if there is Republicans are in control of the Senate, there is that checks and balances, which is good. And I think James Madison referred to it as a necessary fence, talking about the fickleness of the House when you have that different party in the Senate and the House. And so that's what, we're looking for. But the administration, we think a lot's going to happen on the regulatory front. And I'll get to the legislative in a second, but the regulatory front, just because, a lot of things that the Obama administration put into place, the Trump administration removed or changed, but we're going to see the Biden administration try to put those back into place. And some of those
Waters of the United States, those sorts of things, Henry.
Yeah, exactly. You're looking at independent contractor status, where that was, that is a big one, or people considered employees or independent contractors. Overtime, that was another huge one, especially hurting our industry, all hospitality industries where, folks are working a whole lot more during the busy months in the seasonal time than other times. So, that's something we're going to have to look at again and potentially, fight. Union elections, ambush or union elections are looking like something that's, could be difficult, for clubs if they have to deal with those. But then absolutely, like you said, on the environmental side, waters the US, also herbicide, pesticide, fungicide, regulatory actions, those types of things, where, we had an administration that was supportive of the private club issue. Our side, our look at it, is probably not going to be supported by this administration.
Yeah. Well, I know you guys will be going to bat one way or the other, and it's a good thing that we've got you on our corner, no matter who's sitting in the White House. Let's talk about some of the specific legislation that you guys are working on here in 2021 and how that affects clubs.
And this is great. And, mention Joe Trauger, our VP of Government Relations, who I'm sure, be great to have on, as you move forward with this to really get into the nuts and bolts of everything that we're going, and as well as, once the new House, the new Senate, and the new legislative session gets going. But it's going to be interesting because, one of the things that Joe's done in his couple of years he's been here is he's broadened our reach, NCA's reach across the aisle. So we have, had the opportunity to support both Republicans and Democrats in the 2020 election cycle, which was something we had never done before. So we're very proud of that. But more importantly, it got us, some supporters on the Democratic side. Quick example is Representative Dan Kildee out of Michigan. We featured him in a club director article And actually also had him on one of our webinars that we did during the throes of the COVID pandemic, talking about, his support of clubs and some of the things, the legislation that we were looking for, and so that's been great. So, when, we say that, oh, it's, Democrat controlled House, Republican controlled Senate, Democratic administration, that doesn't mean that we're just not going to be able to work or won't try to get things done. We will, and we're in an even better position right now to do it than we were, before Joe came on board. And so that's a great thing. And, one of the things that we are specifically going to work on is the Fit Act. You might be familiar with this. I think we've talked about it before. It's been around for a couple different, sessions now. And, in Congress, when you get a brand new session, like we just started on Sunday, any bills that were introduced in the last session, nothing happens to them. So you've got to reintroduce them again in the new session. And so the Fit Act will be reintroduced. And for those of you who may not know, this is an act that would allow individuals, and couples with HSAs or health savings accounts to use up to $1,000 or $2,000 respectively towards fitness-related activities and equipment. This is a way to try to be proactive in folks' healthcare instead of using that HSA money to pay for a doctor visit or something like that. It's okay. Well, let's use this HSA money to get people active, to get them in shape. And so, the nice thing about this is, it can be used for, things in the pro shop, in the golf pro shop or the tennis pro shop at a club. It can be used for golf clubs. It can be used for golf lessons. It can be used for, shoes. So anything specific to that sport, you can use those HSA dollars for it. And then the other great thing is that, parents can use it for their children's activities, whether it's, lessons or, tournament fees or things like that. So, and that's something that's had bipartisan support. And so, again, that will be introduced. I don't want to predict on that when we think anything like that might be, passed or what we see. But, we know that, we're going to continue to work on it along with others in the golf industry. And so we'll see where, things like that go. But that's one specific thing that we're going to be working on that we think, could be beneficial for the entire industry and should be something that should be supported by both sides of the aisle.
How long does it take for legislation for someone like me who doesn't really understand the inner workings of what's going on at the Capitol? I know the FIDAT's sort of been on the table for a better part of a year, maybe more. How long does it really take to get these things passed, Henry? And what goes on behind the scenes to make these things happen?
That's a great question. But the short, smart alecky answer would be, it depends on the importance of the bill.
Sure.
Because like you saw that we did that.
They go down that immediately.
Right, exactly. It's like 5,500 pages worth of stuff that nobody read that gets voted on immediately. You'll have a 6-page, Fit Act bill that doesn't. It just depends, on, where, the sponsor of that bill, where he or she might rank in terms of the authority and, can they bring it to the committee? Can they bring it to the floor? Can they get other co-sponsors? Can you get other supporters, people to drum up support for that? Because obviously they're going to vote on what they consider the most important things first, and that's what's going to move. And so that's why it's up to organizations like ours, to hit the representatives and the senators up on the Hill and say, hey, there's this bill out there. It's been introduced by so and so. We'd like to get your support on it because we'd like to move this through, and this is why it would be good for the country. And that's the educational component of what lobbyists do. I know lobbyists tend to have a bad reputation or a negative connotation, using that term. But that's the main focus is to educate these lawmakers because they have no idea about all the different issues that are happening all across the country. That's why they rely on their staff, and the staff relies on organizations such as ours to go to them and show them, what the benefits are, how it would, help them, how it would help their constituents, and then get that done. So that's where it is. If you can build up the support from that, once you get a lot of co-sponsors on there, once you get a lot of supporters on there, then it's more likely to move forward. So it's just about garnering that support. And that's where, we reach out to our members and to our industry and encourage them to contact their representatives and their senators, because if they're hearing that, from their districts, then they're more likely to act on it as well.
Now, this is probably a good time to talk to you about Club Pack and what you guys have put together over the last couple of years. Can you, for folks who don't know what Club Pack is or how they can get involved, can you tell us about that, Henry?
Absolutely. So, Club PAC is our political action committee, what PAC stands for. And this is the way that any organization, any association, has the ability to, support candidates that support their issues. It's a wonderful thing that allows us to use the resources from our members to be able to, again, support the candidates that support things like the Fit Act or support some of the other things that we're trying to move forward. And so we use that to, meet with the congressmen or the senators, at events, dinners usually, and have the chance to sit down with them. And so it's a great tool that everybody uses. We've really ramped up the use of our PAC over the last 3 or 4 years. It's enabled us to have a stronger voice in Washington D.C. We are able to, attend more events with representatives, with senators. Like I said before, this is the first time. The 2020 election cycle. So, last year's election cycle was the first time that we'd ever given and used PAC money for both Republicans and Democrats. And so that's something that we're very proud of because, in order to get something, moved, you've got to have support from both sides of the aisle. And so that's, enables us to do that. And the great thing is that, that money comes to us. It's individual money from, the individual general managers or board members from clubs. It's not a club's money. And so that just really shows the dedication and support that the general managers and the leaders in the private club industry have by contributing their own personal money to our PAC.
That's fantastic. And if folks want to get involved with that, how do they do it, Henry?
Well, first they need to be a member. It's talk about just the typical government mess. The club has to be a member of the association, and then the club has to sign what's called a prior authorization form so that we can send them specific information about the PAC and who we've given to and what it's done. And once that form has been signed, then they are able to contribute to that. So it's leave it up to the government to not make anything easy at all.
Red tape.
Exactly. But we've been able to work through that. Unfortunately, a lot of the associations have to do that. And but if they're interested, then we do have information on our website about Club PAC. And then, if they're even more interested about it, love to have them join, and I can help them do that and get them all the information.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, any other legislation you guys are looking at the NCA this year? Or anything that you're looking forward to here as 2021? Well, it's not even approaching; it's here.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be interesting because, like I say, we're going to be more on the defensive. It's going to be more of a wait and see of what we need to do to make sure that our member clubs and the industry overall is in the best position that it can be to succeed. And so, I'm just, interested to see, what happens, what's going to be coming out of the administration, what's going to be coming out of the House, what's going to be coming out of the Senate. And the House is going to be interesting because it's the smallest majority in a very, very long time, by a majority party. And so I think it's like 222 votes to 212. And so the Democrats only have 5, votes. If they lose those 5 votes, then the Republicans can pass something or that. So it's going to be very interesting to see, what comes out, of the Senate and of the House. But I think right now we're going to see more things coming out on a regulatory front from the administration than we are on the legislative front.
Fantastic, Henry. Let's talk a little bit more broadly. And by the way, I put up there, if you do want to learn more about Club PAC, John Good over at the National Club Association kindly provided the link there. You want to check out more about what Club PAC's all about, please go to that website. But let's talk a little bit more broadly about 2021 outlook for clubs. What are you seeing, Henry?
It's if you would ask me this question in March of 2020, it would have been very different than what it is now.
I think I did ask you that question last year, by the way.
I think you did, and I have been absolutely, amazed, but then also just so proud of the industry and the resolve that the private club industry had, and how we've been able to, we as an industry, have been able to not only just weather the storm of COVID in 2020, but actually, get through it quite well. Hearing from or managers who said that, they're almost, were able to make budget, because some of the things that they did. It was tremendous to hear, also because the fact that clubs were able to, to pivot so quickly. This is not an industry that's traditionally done that very well, to pivot quickly. And so clubs did. So, coming out of 2020, where, I think everybody's seen the numbers, overall golf has been up 12%. And I think in private clubs, rounds have been up 19%, which was just absolutely wonderful. We were fortunate that, golf was one of the few things that could be done, during COVID. Again, great weather in the fall, and not too much rain, and still warm enough to play golf. So that worked out very well for clubs. So we're heading that, trying to carry that momentum into 2021. The big thing still is going to be COVID, to be honest. You want to say, okay, well, we got through it, it's over. But, when you're seeing numbers like, I think I think deaths have increased 20%, on average over the last 7 days. We've seen that, number of cases, have increased as well. So you're looking at that and saying, wow, things are going to get worse. Could we have a potential shutdown again? Again, with the new administration, things are going to be different, or they could be looking at doing things more on a federal level, as opposed to the previous administration, which was, allowing states to do more things. But then you look at, okay, well, vaccine, started December 14th, and since then, I think it's 4.5 million people have been, or have received at least one shot of the vaccine. And, numbers are projecting around, 100 million to be vaccinated, by the summer. So you've got these two very interesting, deaths and cases are way up, higher than they've ever been. But then you've also sort of got this hope of, okay, the vaccine is there as well. But then you can go into the mix. Okay, well, is there that other strain, that you mentioned earlier with the UK, they're having their issues, and, so we just really don't know. I hope that, yes, the vaccine is going to take care of the worst of this. And, I'm not going to say that we're going to be back to normal anytime soon. I think that's going to be a ways, but I think, clubs can, look to that spring to say, okay, their members, are going to be wanting to get back out there when there's going to be warmer again, and let's, see what we can do.
Yeah, my hope is that things, and obviously this is my own opinion. Certainly, I'm no doctor or anything like that, but it seems like the trajectory you're on is by the time clubs open, let's say April, May, when things start to thaw out up north, that's actually going to be a really good time that hopefully the rest of the country really starts to, in some ways, get back to normal. No, you're not a doctor either, Henry, but
Okay.
do you think that that's reasonable?
I do. I hope so. And we're looking at holding our, conference at the very end of May, down at Ocean Reef Club. And so we're hoping to be able to do that. We know it's not going to be as big as we were planning on it being, in 2020. But we realize that, understand, you're going to have to make accommodations for social distancing and other things.
Sure.
But I think that, by that time, yes, things are going to be better, especially with the vaccine. Again, hopefully people are going to continue to take precautions if they need to be, and the numbers will be much lower. So I think, that spring, that April, May, and, is going to be the time that, clubs can see, again, this huge resurgence, of their members coming out. But, there's going to be some things that they can do, before that, as well.
Right. So, what should be the focus of clubs here near term? Then, I know we saw a lot of virtual events and things happening over the summertime. I think we'll see more of that. What should clubs really be focusing on for their members?
I think first and foremost being that safe haven, which I think clubs have done a very good job of doing. And I think that's one reason why members feel comfortable going to the club as opposed to a restaurant or a hotel, because, they know the fellow members at the club, and they know that the club is looking out for their best interests, and they're going to do everything they can to make sure that it is that safe haven, taking every precaution possible, and, with the cleanliness and everything else. So clubs should continue to do that, especially now because, there's not as many things that can be outside, more things need to be inside if, places, can have things inside. They need to make sure that they do that. So I think that's, first and foremost what a club needs to do. But yes, continue on, those virtual events. We just conducted or just sent to press our Club Trends Outlook 2021 issue. And we asked them there, and 90% of clubs said that they'll continue to do virtual events, which I think is wonderful because this is, you know, enabled clubs to find a new way to engage their members. And,
Right.
and that's what it's all about. And I think that's the key as well is, clubs getting back to member engagement.
Right.
The whole reason that club was started was so that the members could interact with each other and do that. And so, it's been, a tough way to try maybe learn a lesson, for some clubs to say, okay, we need to focus on the members, maybe not so much the outings and biddings and events and this, these non-member dues, but maybe more focus on, non-dues revenue coming from dues paying members. They're using the club more, they're eating more, they're playing more golf, whatever it might be. And I think that this really is a great opportunity, for clubs, moving forward. And then, eventually and ideally, that's also going to help their financial strength and their financial position because the clubs that we've seen, that have done well, through 2020 are ones that were more dues dependent. They weren't dependent on those events. And so because of that, they were in a better position. They were still continuing to get those dues in and they were still able to operate, at a level that, provided their members with, with resources, and tools necessary to engage them.
Yeah, I think you're right on there. And I know in the past the NCAA has really cautioned clubs that they can get into more sticky things when you're talking about a big piece of your revenue coming from outside of the club membership. So it's actually been nice to see clubs really putting more focus on their existing members, investing in programs and things specifically for the members. So maybe that's one of the good things that happens in one of these pandemic is some of the shifts have really benefited our clubs and help them reposition themselves. So I think that's fantastic. Any other predictions or anything else that you'd like to see happen in 2021?
I think it's, it's still going to be that great opportunity for clubs because, members aren't going to be traveling. We at least anticipate not to the numbers. I just, read a story about the Reagan Airport here in DC. They're probably not going to get up to their pre-COVID number of travelers until 2022, maybe 2023.
Wow.
So people aren't going to be traveling. So they're going to be looking to that club, as their refuge, as their place. Where can we go? Where can we take the family? What can we do? So I just think, these are great opportunities for clubs to really engage their members. We're even looking at, clubs are saying, okay, well, we're going to put in some, work from home spaces, at the club. We're seeing that more so on the city club side than the country club, but even country clubs are looking at doing that because, I'm working from home right now and, it could be a very common thing. But people are not going to want to work from home all the time. They're going to want to get out and do something else. So if they've got an opportunity to go work at the office for, 1, 2, 6, 8 hours, whatever it might be, they might, do that because then also they can, play golf or work out or eat or do whatever else and just gives them a different environment. And so we're seeing a lot of clubs that are doing that. And again, renting of these office spaces at the club, again, that's an opportunity for non-dues revenue coming in, from your members and engaging your members. So, clubs being creative and doing things such as that, or what we see, coming down the pike in 2021. And, and it never amazes me to see, what one club will come up with and how they do it. And then more importantly, how it's received by the members. And it's just, it's just been wonderful. And it has given, clubs an opportunity to really reconnect with their members. Because we're all going through this and, members are, they want the best, for the club, but they also, understand, what the best that the club can do in a situation like this. And that's where they, they're really appreciating, being a part of a club and being engaged with it.
Yep. And you guys did such a great job in 2020, at least of keeping everyone up to date on what was happening. So we want to thank you and the effort you and the team, Cindy, John, everyone over at the NCAA did this year to make sure that clubs access to information that was really vital. And I assume you continue to do that in 2021, Henry?
Absolutely. It's one of those things where that was great what we did in 2020. What are we going to do in 2021? But you're right.
What have you done for me lately, Henry?
Exactly. So, I'm excited, with the team that we've got in place. Like you talk about communications with Cindy and Denise and Phil, doing an amazing job, and John as well. And then Joe with our government relations and Katina, who's in charge of membership and sales, and done an amazing job. I mean, we've seen, incredible growth in our own membership over the last, 4 months. I think people are, understanding more about NCA and what we offer and what we can do. And yeah, we're going to continue to do that. We're in the process of launching a brand new website that should be going out to, it's live now, but we'll be sending information out to our members about how to log on for that. And every single one of our, publications or pieces of information is now housed on that website in the library that's searchable by a very robust search engine. So anything that they would need in terms of, club governance or trends or insight or, anything, that's on our website. Soon after that, we're going to be launching our app that we're going to be doing. So people will be able to get our information, from anywhere, anytime through a couple of different means. I know Joe's going to be busy with government relations, so we're going to have a lot more coming out on that. And then, we're excited about our conference that we look to have in at the end of May. And so, a lot more great things coming, but more importantly, just making sure that that the legislative and regulatory environment in which clubs have to operate is one that we can make as positive as possible.
You guys do some incredible work. I know I sat on the communications committee last year, and just to see everything that goes into it, the topic planning, and there's like 5 publications now, like in terms of magazines, plus you guys have email blasts. You're doing all sorts of tasks like video. You're doing a lot of live events. It's just amazing the amount of comes out of your team. So it just it's off to you guys and what you guys have been doing up there in DC for the club industry. If folks haven't already, be scratching my head is why you haven't already. But if you haven't joined the National Club Association as a club on behalf of your club, go to nationalclub.org, find out more and get involved, because these guys are doing incredible work for us. Henry, any parting shots? I know you got the Villanova logo behind you. Any parting shots for us here?
I wish everyone, a safe and healthy 2021. I think, it can be a very positive one, for the private club industry, but, for the country overall. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to learning more, from the clubs. That was probably one of the most interesting and amazing things to me is everything that I learned from our members last year about, how they needed to react, how they needed to act, what they were going through. And then also more importantly, what could we do to, help them? What information do they need from us? How can we, provide that to them? And so, I'm looking forward to that. And, and talk about, my staff, John Good was right on top of it. He just posted our websites and the conference websites if people want to click on that. So again, shows you what a great team we have here at NCA. And, and again, I echo you. I scratch my head too as to why people wouldn't want to join us, but obviously I'm biased. But I invite anybody and everybody to reach out to us and see how we can help them, help their club and help their board to a much more successful, 2021 and in the future.
And I have to think that a lot of people didn't spend their education money in 2020. Maybe got a few extra dollars this year. Absolutely invest in going to the National Club Conference. That's nationalclubconference.com, I believe, right? .org, nationalconference.org. That's going to be happening here in Florida, in Ocean Reef in May. Take a look at the website there to get more details. Always a great lineup of speakers. So if you've got a few extra dollars in that education, what a way to spend it. But Henry, I appreciate your time, man. We talked about going 20 minutes and we all of a sudden went 40 minutes. So it's easy when you're having fun, I guess. But
it is. And that's probably my fault. I'll take the blame on that one.
I think everyone enjoyed it. And again, if you weren't able to see this live or catch the entire live stream, you can always go back. These will be provided for you, the recordings as well as the podcast on privateclubradio.com. So Henry, I wish you an incredible 2021 to you and the team. I can't wait to have you guys back on. I think we'll get Joe on next from the NCA.
All right. Sounds good, Gabe. Thanks so much. Best of luck with all of this.
Private Club Radio is brought to you by Concert Golf Partners, helping to preserve and enhance private golf and country clubs. Visit concertgolfpartners.com to learn more about the recapitalization process.